Hello and welcome. Thank you for taking the time to connect with me here online. I'm naturopath Kimballe Robyzen. This is a brief message to introduce myself and to offer you some of my clinical pearls that have become consistent features of my successful patient outcomes. But before we delve into that, let me ask you, have the wheels ever fallen off your health? And when you're trying to put the wheels back on with some sensible lifestyle choices and some basic supplements, that it didn't quite get you back to feeling anywhere near as great as you did before? Well, that was me, just over 10 years ago. In my first life, I was an international interior architect, project managing large-scale corporate projects throughout Southeast Asia. I'll admit, it was a pretty glamorous role, but as you can imagine, it came with plenty of intense deadlines and crazy long hours. You probably already know where this is heading, right? Yep, professional burnout. I don't think it's medically labelled condition yet, but it should be. The slippery slope of my health not keeping up with my workload wasn't much of a joyride, as I'm sure you can imagine. I developed a number of complex digestive conditions, adrenal fatigue, and I actually lost my voice for about 3 years. My voice became very husky and quite an effort to speak. Needless to say, I became considerably self-conscious about it. These days though, I look back at this time in my life as a blessing in disguise. I consider it the pivotal turning point that caused me to focus on aspects of life that I discovered were much more meaningful, not only for myself, but all of us. That high-flying executive experience certainly gave me valuable insight into the pitfalls of an unbalanced life, but it also helped me to develop an eye for the warning signs and a natural empathy for those struggling with their own health journey too. It was around this time that it became plainly obvious to me that the quality of our health status strongly influences our capacity to pursue pathways in life that are personally fulfilling to us. You know, like the big significant ones, such as our life purpose, our true passions, or even if it's to simply enjoy life to its fullest potential. I remember quite clearly, there was a certain moment when I had one of those aha moments. It felt a bit like I was integrating all this data that I was downloading from my traditional studies, my bioresonance technology training, and some inspiring thought leaders I was following at the time too, I think. I realised that this new holistic health path I found myself on was leading me to some of the most significant wisdom of human history. In that moment, I was hooked. I knew, beyond a doubt, I had found my calling. So, I continued on my long pursuit of study and research to find the solution to my own health issues and fix this broken voice box. You notice it's better now. A Bachelor of Health Science degree and a long string of diplomas later, one realises that the learning is actually never ending. But I also discovered that all that content, combined with working alongside a very successful holistic medical doctor, treating all sorts of extreme cases, had provided me with the clarity I was looking for around a burning question that had been cycling through my mind for years. And that is, what are the fundamental principles behind consistent positive health outcomes? To answer this question, I filtered through all my clinical experience, my own health journey, and a myriad of modalities I had trained in by then to refine it down to 7 key principles. And I'm going to share them with you right now. Number 1, we are all unique to ourselves in every sense of the word. This is what we are referring to in holistic medicine when we say, treat the person, not the disease. Your specific relationship to every aspect of your life, your environment, your diet, how you cope with stress, and the way you process emotions may share some similarities to others, but the sum of all those parts are truly unique to yourself alone. Even your bacterial microbiome is as unique to you as your fingerprint. By nature then, your individual healthcare strategy in all its glorious detail must be completely personalised to you. This is why generic supplements, generic diets and generalised exercise routines don't work in the same way for everyone. Number 2, the underlying cause of any disease or dysfunction will always involve some form of stress. The poor old thyroid, the hormones, immune system, adrenals, digestion usually receive the blame for what's going wrong with someone's health because they are the systems that are presenting with symptoms. However, most often the underlying cause will involve a stress pattern that is interfering with their self-regulating mechanisms. And here lies the rub. Beyond the visibly obvious circumstantial stress, many individuals can have a hypersensitive to stress itself and experience bouts of anxiety or depression, or maybe even both. This is made possible by hidden biochemical pathways that can make someone vulnerable in this way from what's described as metabolic stress. Who would have thought such a thing was possible, right? This metabolic stress story is actually an important understanding which deserves a video on its own to explain properly, which I will follow on with soon. But for now, in simple terms, any variety of stress, metabolic or circumstantial, will deliver your body into an adrenal state known as fight or flight. It's like alarm bells going off in your body. Metabolically speaking, your body literally believes it is being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. This life-saving mechanism is designed to automatically activate your strength and energy when a life-threatening signal is perceived. To achieve this, your adrenals totally reorganize your whole metabolic resources by shutting down systems of less priority, those not needed when fighting for your life, and prioritizing motor functions to the limbs and raising your blood glucose. I'll explain how this works in the next video. In addition to this, our modern day lifestyle is full of these signals, isn't it? Even simple things we take for granted, such as anything with a sense of urgency, pushing yourself when you're tired, multitasking, or even driving a car in traffic. So why is this relevant to your uncomfortable symptoms, I hear you ask? Well, all of those organ or hormone systems expressing those symptoms are designed to operate in the opposite side of the autonomic nervous system. This is fondly referred to as the rest and digest. It's a bit like trying to use a Windows software program in an Apple Mac computer. It can't function in the wrong operating system. Hormones, thyroid, immune, and all those housekeeping functions are mostly offline when the fight or flight alarm bells are ringing. That's why their suppressed functions start showing signs of inadequacy. It's like a cry for help when the fight or flight state has been running for too long. Number 3, it is also possible to become intolerant to beneficial substances. There are actually more familiar examples of this than you may realise. Things like insulin resistance, you've heard of this. Histamine intolerance is another example. Intolerances to simple foods can even escalate into full-blown life-threatening anaphylaxis. So when these issues go on long enough, they develop into one of the growing varieties of autoimmune conditions where the immune system becomes so confused it starts attacking the body's own healthy tissue. But for now, it's enough to appreciate that any part of our body's own functional biochemistry or any specific micronutrient will potentially attract inappropriate intolerance reactions, all of which are important to identify and correct in order to facilitate the path to recovery. Number 4, digestion is the engine of the body. Oh yes, I learnt this one the hard way. Digestion is probably one of the most complex systems, and it happens to wear the brunt of most of our indulgences and naive misbehaviours. There are so many interactions taking place every hour with a constant state of flux. The art of improving digestive health is a collaborative effort between patient and practitioner. It must be a team effort and often requires creative interventions. It has been a particular feature of my own healing journey and is something I pay consistent attention to. Number 5. What we do most of the time is what counts. There is an accumulative effect of our regular choices. This is why our daily practice and diet is so significant. These choices form the drivers of either chronic disease or thriving health. Establishing stable, resilient health, though, affords us the occasional treat without unmanageable collateral damage. There is a caveat to this one though. I have observed the popular approach of some patients being good all week and then often justifying binging of some kind over the weekend. I need to bust this myth for you. Doing something every week qualifies as a regular habit. I'm afraid excess in this way is equally destructive as daily habits are. If you want to achieve metabolic transformation and repair chronic damage, this requires a disciplined approach for a block of time. For most people, this will often take many weeks or even months. And number 6, nurture the weak links in your health chain. Include extra support for and protect those systems that are showing the early warning signs or have a genetic reputation within your family. Compensating the whole body with additional TLC for those weaker systems makes a world of difference. And finally, number 7. Aging is just another name for nutrient deficiency inside the cell. This one is actually good news, isn't it? If we match the nutritional needs of our individual metabolism, then we slow the aging process considerably. And many other positive side effects come with it, I might add. Fully appreciating this understanding, along with addressing the various forms of metabolic stress I mentioned earlier, is what motivated me to specialise in compounding personalised nutritional and herbal formulas. This personalised method can holistically support so many health needs in one formula, streamlining your whole treatment plan considerably, and the cost too, I might add. It has become a visibly beneficial feature of the way I now practice. So there you have it, my 7 key principles to achieving consistent positive health outcomes. I hope that this video has given you some insight into my approach to clinical practice. There is so much more I am planning to share with you, so please subscribe below to stay connected. I would consider it an absolute honour and a privilege to work with you towards achieving your health goals, whichever they may be. So please stay tuned for my next video, and if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me through my contact details below. Until then, wishing you the best of health.